Have you seen any real evidence that will prove these RICO charges? No. And this was another thing we want to talk about here, right? The state is playing a very strange game. The state is not seeming like they don't want to prove anything. The state seems like they're just trying to put it in the jury's mind that maybe these guys colluded to commit these crimes. They have yet to have a person come in there and say any YSL member planned with other YSL members to commit any of these crimes. They haven't brought a single person in there to do that yet. Actually, the opposite happened when Trontavia Stevens went up there and said, nobody ever told us to do anything. Even the older guys in our neighborhood, they were older than us, but they didn't give us orders to commit crimes. Anything we ever did, we just did it on our own. Nobody told anybody to do anything. Trontavia Stevens said that months ago. They still haven't had a person to say anything other than that. All of these crimes they keep on showing, even with the Lil Wayne bus shooting. Now we have moved on from the Lil Wayne bus shooting. They have no proof. They haven't shown us any proof that Young Thug made a call to somebody to say, hey, do this. They haven't got the shooter, Pee Wee Roscoe, to come in there and say, hey, Young Thug told me to do this. So this whole thing about the RICO, you need a conspiracy. You can't just say these guys committed a crime. For it to be a conspiracy, you need it to be these guys committed a crime. They conspired to commit these crimes in furtherance of their gang or whatever. But they haven't shown any of that yet. They done been through how many overt acts so far, and we haven't heard them get a single person to say, I got this order to do this from this other person. They haven't even said, yeah, we sat down together and came up with this plan together. So I'm trying to figure out what type of, like, to me, it looks like they're just throwing stuff out there and just hoping that the jury will be confused about what a RICO case is. That's what it seems like to me. That's why they're jumping all over the place. That's why they're not going in order. Like I said, they just finished up the Lil Wayne bus shooting situation, right? Which was in April 2015. Now they're going backwards to January 2015. And that was after they did the Dexter Montgomery shooting a couple of weeks ago. So they just jumping all over the place trying to confuse the jury. That's what I think they're trying to do. I think they're definitely trying to confuse the jury, right? Shout out to whoever just got an ad right then. I don't know. YouTube looked like they're telling me they got ads on there, but let me go for it. But yeah, anyway, the way that they was describing those shootings and stuff like that after Donovan Thomas was killed, it made me realize, okay, that's why OG Bentley was so scared when he was at that gas station. That's why he called the goons and told them, yo, come up here. Somebody is outside trying to do something to me. So it makes sense because they was doing stuff to people that was associated with YSL. So that shooting makes a lot more sense to me now. They was paranoid as hell. Let's see here. So I'm reading my notes, y'all. Give me a second. Okay, so then they talk about they did multiple attempts on Shannon Stillwell's life. One of the times shot him in the head. One of the times Shannon Stillwell's in the car with two females, and whoever ran up on him, which they said his name. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if that was convicted or what. They said the people's name or whatever that supposedly was involved. Shannon Stillwell, one of the females that was in the car with Shannon Stillwell, got killed. Right, she died in the car. So that's how serious it was. Serious enough that I guess people repping YSL and anybody that's with them can all die. That's when you ask, like, is this person really a boss? Like, when you kill people like that, this is the type of retaliation tactics that we see. Yes, he probably was really a boss out there. And that's with me not knowing him personally, just seeing how things went afterwards. So, and then they even got into the fact that Shannon Stillwell supposedly wrote so the state was trying to paint the picture that Shannon Stillwell was the intended target of that murder, and a young lady got killed because of him, right? And they said they had proof of that because Shannon Stillwell wrote a letter to the family of the victim, pretty much apologizing, like, yo, that was for me. I'm sorry. Like, it shouldn't have went like that, and whatever. So that's a very unfortunate situation. In this beef that we looking at here, like, men, women, children were all on the menu. It did not matter. They was going crazy. And let me read my note that I have here, right? They say many incidents took place over the years. It seems to have been reignited in 2019 when somebody spray painted on Nutt's gravesite. So they was taking this beef like they didn't let it go. It kept going. I'm assuming because people kept on getting hurt. So both sides kept doing it. But I guess they say things ramped back up in 2019 when somebody went and disrespected Nutt's gravesite. It's just like, man, I wish some of this stuff wouldn't have to happen. You know what I'm saying? It already was unfortunate that the young man died like that. But the fact that it's caused so much more violence afterwards, it's like, wow. So Attorney Shard actually had an outburst in there. He was pissed. He did not like what was being said. He had a little outburst. The judge told the jury, all right, cut it. We're going to send the jury outside. And he told Shard pretty much, yo, if you do this again, I'm going to hold you in contempt. Don't do that again. And pretty much he was arguing with the judge in front of the jury. Pretty much. He was not only arguing with the judge, but he asked Detective Dennis a question. And he's like, I know you can answer this question. Like that question is not too confusing. You're intelligent enough to answer the question. And the judge is like, stop, kicked everybody out and told Shard, don't do that again. But even when Shard was doing that, the Detective Dennis never got flustered or anything like that. So that's also part of what I was saying about he looks more credible because he doesn't look biased. Now, let's move on to this week, right? We got David Racy on the stand, who was an APD officer detective. Now he is ATF officer. They did a wild trick with this David Racy, with this detective or special agent Racy, because like I said, he works for the federal government now at the ATF. He was actually a Cobb County police officer, and he was investigating a bus shooting. Now, this is what they did with Racy. This was the trick that they used with Racy. So they had Racy up there, and the defense was thinking that he was supposed to be like he was a dual witness. They thought he would be a dual witness, so expert witness and fact witness. But then the state pulled a last minute trickaroo and said, we're not even going to use him as an expert witness because y'all keep on arguing with all these expert witnesses. We're not even going to use him like that. We're going to use him as a fact witness only right now, right? Now, this is where the trick came in. He was investigating the Lil Wayne bus shooting, right? A shooting where nobody got injured, a shooting where it was in the middle of the night. Nobody actually saw who did it or whatever, but they pretty much arrested somebody very shortly after because APD called Cobb County and said, hey, we think it was this guy, go get him, right? So this is the thing, right? This is the trick that the state played with Racy on the stand as the witness. Even though he wasn't, quote unquote, an expert witness, they had a detective Racy or agent Racy pretty much break down all the technology that he used while he was investigating that case. So he used cell phone tracking data. He subpoenaed Instagram records, so it was deleted from the person's page. He subpoenaed it from the company Instagram, and they sent him certified copies of documentation from Instagram, or that was posted on Instagram at some point, but deleted, right? And they even sent certificate of authenticities with these pieces, right? He also had geolocation information based on cell phone tower pings to people's devices and stuff like that, right? This is the trick. When they had Racy sit up there and talk about all this technical data for like half a week, that would trick the mind of the jury to think, even if we know he's not an expert witness, it's going to make you think he's an expert, and everything he's saying is based on facts because he's using this data to back up what he thinks about this case. So when he calls them a gang, it's because he has all this data to back it up. The whole time, though, all this data was just, did one phone call another phone? They don't have copies of the they don't know what they were saying to each other. They don't have any of that type of information. They just know this person called this person on this date. This person called that person on this date. The call lasted this long, right? So for about a day and a half or maybe 2 days, Racy is just up on the stand doing all technical breakdowns of all of this information. He's not saying anything about the crime. He's not saying this call led to this person shooting that person. He's not saying when they called Birdman all these times, Birdman told him, go do it right now. They didn't say Birdman called and told this man, that's the bus driver's name. Go walk up to, when you see the bus driver, go say his name to him. Let him know y'all here. They don't have any of that information. And that's why I say the state is playing a weird game with this RICO case, because they're doing like the reasonable doubt thing, thinking that it will work in their favor. Like, we don't need proof that Young Thug told them to shoot the bus up. We just need the jury to believe that one of these phone calls is relevant to the bus shooting. They never even made a connection to any single phone call to that bus shooting. All they know is that at some point in the first 6 months of 2015, Young Thug and Pee Wee Roscoe had a phone conversation. That's really all they know. They don't have nothing else. And they know that Young Thug helped with a fundraiser to help him get his money up so he can pay his lawyer. Other than that, they don't have they have nothing on that. Pee Wee Roscoe took a plea deal back then, found out it was coercion. The judge coerced him into taking a guilty plea. They threw that out, and then he took another plea deal then. And he was the only one that went to jail for that. So now y'all coming back and trying to make it seem like Young Thug is the one who ordered them to do it, even though y'all didn't even say that at no part when Racy was on the stand did they have any evidence of that, right? So I really don't get why. Well, I get why, because they was trying to trick the jury into thinking he was an expert, even though they didn't want to qualify him as an expert witness. So I get that. It was a tactic. It was a trick. You understand? Y'all let me know if y'all fell for that trick, though, because Racy was up there for a long time talking about nothing. Like, we talking about a bus shooting where nobody was injured. And they had that man on the stand for about a week for that. That was a super waste of time. Let's see here. I'm gonna read in the comments. Let me see if it's almost as if the state is trying to prove crimes that have already been adjudicated. Yes. Rather than making a connection of organized crime. That's facts. They up there just relitigating stuff that people have already taken plea deals for. In the original plea deals, them people never said, hey, I conspired with these other people to do these crimes. And now that the state is rehashing these old crimes, they're not even proving that anybody cooperated with each other to commit these crimes. They're just telling us a bunch of crimes that was committed by people who also just so happened to claim YSL. Like, there's no... This case is really on some ridiculousness right now. Let's see. Do you know why the judge is only arguing for the state? Of course I know why this is what I think. And shout out to Judge Glanville, because I believe that you watch this podcast. I'm going to be true. I'm going to be real with you. I think you watch it sometimes. Maybe not all the time. I believe you watch it because we got Ohio. You know, you from Ohio. So I think the judge is helping the state out so much because they're getting destroyed. That's why. I think without the judge's help, this case would look so much worse than it even looks now. It looks bad now. That's with the judge helping them. If he wasn't helping them, I think that they would be getting calls from people in high places saying, why are y'all trying this case? This is a waste of money. Y'all see there was actually a Senate hearing with the Fulton County commissioners or the Fulton County commissioners talking to the state, the leaders of the state Senate about why Fonnie Willis made a request to Fulton County for money. And when I say Fulton County, I'm talking about like pretty much the commissioners. They run districts and stuff like that. Commissioners are separate from the DA's office. So when the DA's office needs money and funding, they go ask the commission for the money and they could either approve or deny it. So Fonnie Willis put a request in for like $75 million. She requested all that money because she said, yo, we got a crazy backlog of cases and we need to prosecute these cases. So we need a bunch of money so that we can do what we need to do, hire more people, and we need to get some of these backlog handled. What Fonnie Willis ended up doing is getting all that money and pretty much putting it into prosecuting YSL and Donald Trump, which were two new cases. So they just had a hearing about that a couple weeks ago. So, don't be surprised if you see this case popping up in many different conversations, because in that Senate hearing, they brought the Fulton County Commission brought up a lot of times that they knew that the YSL case was extremely expensive. And they knew that it was beating the Fulton County's pockets up. Like they are spending a lot of resources and money, human resources and money trying to convict YSL, even though they asked for that money so that they can convict old cases, right? So keep that in mind as we go forward watching this trial, that there's also not just the criminal side of this, there's political implications with this whole thing. And Fonnie Willis is running for re-election right now. So you got people high up in the state of Georgia that would like to bring her up on charges. They just need to get the right information before they can try to do that. So keep your eye on that if you're interested in that side of it. There's a political component to this YSL trial. This thing is super political. So that's why the judge is helping the state, because they're getting their head beat in. They got all these lawyers. I don't know if y'all been paying attention to Attorney Love. Attorney Love is burnt out. She is, when I say burnt out, I mean, she's clearly fatigued from this trial. She's forgetting things. She's mispronouncing things. She's saying people's name wrong. She's up there having, Attorney Hilton has been the carrying the load of this case for the last couple months now. Like, I believe that Attorney Love is just beat down from everything going on. She's been feeling like them people was personally attacking her. If y'all know, Attorney Love actually ran for district attorney. She wants to be into politics. So I don't think she necessarily even want to do this. I don't think she thought it was going to be like this. So she's beat down, I think. Attorney Hilton is like Superman for the state right now. She's having to feed them all the information while Attorney Love is up there talking to the judge, forgetting what she's about to say, not knowing what cases to cite and all that. And Attorney Hilton is having to feed her information the way Love was feeding Atkins information back in like January. So now, this thing is looking like it's really out of hand, and it's all falling on Attorney Hilton right now to try to bring this thing home. I don't see how she's gonna be able to do that though. Let's see anyway, so Racy is on the stand. They get him to cross-examination. They get him to cross-examination. Give me a second, y'all. Give me a second. Let me read my notes here. Oh, this is another thing. Hold off on the Attorney Racy thing. Let me see. Let me read what Val Powell said. And now that we are hearing the case, it is clear he couldn't have acted alone. Cannot see how someone drove a stick shift and used a stick at the same time. True. That's true. That's true. But they can't just say like, this don't make sense. It has to be somebody else. They have to say, they need somebody to come in that courtroom and testify and say, this other person was the driver while this person was the shooter. They need that. You can't just go off of maybe this is what happened. And it seems like that's what the state is doing. The state is like, hey, y'all can deduce what probably happened. Maybe. We can't prove it, but we're going to put all this information in front of you, try to confuse you, and then y'all go figure out what happened. I think it's a terrible strategy. Now, this is one thing. On Tuesday, the judge starts out, he's like, pretty much that he looked back over throughout all the testimony to this point, right? And the judge said that he feels like the state proved a conspiracy based on the preponderance of the evidence. So what did they say? Statements made by co-conspirators will be admissible pretty much going forward, right? And he said that because he feels the state proved the conspiracy. Now, I thought that was extremely crazy. How can you as a judge say what being broadcast to the world, and essentially the jury can go watch the trial if they, maybe they won't tell y'all, they won't admit they watched it, but they can go back and watch it. The jury just heard the judge say that the state proved a conspiracy. How did you not think that could sway what they think? Maybe they might say, oh, well, I'm not an expert. I can just lean on what I heard the judge say. The judge said that the state proved it. They might not know what the whole preponderance of the evidence, they might not understand the difference between proving for admissibility versus proving the actual conspiracy for the crime, and they should be convicted. They might not understand the difference. And I'm sure the judge is not going to even remember this when it's time to give the jury instructions to deliberate. He's not going to remember this to go back and tell them, hey, if y'all heard me say something, I didn't really mean that. He's not going to explain that to them. So Just the fact that he would get up there and say that was wild to me. I feel like if he was just trying to talk about admissibility, I feel like there's other ways that he could have said that, not prove the conspiracy. Those are literally what he said. The state proved the conspiracy. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about that. I don't think that should have came out of that man's mouth. I don't care that the jury was in the back or whatever. Like, this is 2024. The jury is going to see everything going on with this trial. They're going to see people like me. The jury is going to hear what the judge said. The jury is going to see what the blogs pick up. Like, come on, man. Well, I'm not understanding why he said that, honestly. So, I'm not understanding. I'm not understanding how the judge got that off, but that stood out amazingly to me. That just jumped out there. Now,